Chess fans, welcome to another episode of Chess Chat, a program brought to you live from the Rollstone Bank and Trust Studios at Fitchburg Access Television. I am George Marajanian, Program Director of the Wachusett Chess Club at Fitchburg State University. This club, the second oldest chess club in Massachusetts, meets every Wednesday evening from 6:30 to 10:30 in rooms 163 and 165 in the McKay complex at the university. And with me for this 202nd episode of Chess Chat is our award-winning director, Darren Dame of Fitchburg, recipient of FATV's very prestigious Boulder Award in 2009, and 6 months away from completing his 19th consecutive year as director of Chess Chat. And assisting Darren in the control room, also on camera, is fellow resident and longtime Wachusett Chess Club member Brian Bigelow. And sitting across from me is my longtime associate, trusty colleague, the Wachusett Chess Club's statistician and assistant tournament director, a very active tournament player, a chess author, a chess photographer, my co-host, Dave Kuchar of Westminster. Hello, Dave.
Hello, George. Good to see you.
Always good to see you, Dave. Always good to see you on Chess Chat for this 202nd episode.
Who would have thunk it?
Who would have thunk it? Exactly. Now, Dave, just a few weeks ago, we had a major tournament held in the United States. It was the American Cup. It was the fourth American Cup. This was actually started in 2022, and it was organized and hosted by the St. Louis Chess Club, which is the premier chess club of the country, and it was held at the World Chess Hall of Fame in St. Louis, which you actually visited. You were there. You actually went to the St. Louis Chess Club. You met the founder, Rex Sinfield. So again, the St. Louis Chess Club is the #1 chess club in the country and holds all these major events. This American Cup was a two-section event. You had actually an open section of 8 players. They were all men, but there was no, but it wasn't restricted to men. But again, it happened to be men only who played in the open section, and you had 8 women who played in the women's section. Okay, and we're going to present to our viewers all the participants who played in this event, and we're going to start with the women's section, and we're going to start actually with the player in the women's section who tied for 7th and 8th. And we should have a photo of women Grandmaster Atusa Purkashian. Let us find actually, Darren, there she is, Atusa Purkashian. She was born in Iran. She's an Iranian player, but again, she came to this country in December 22. She transferred from the Iranian Chess Federation to the U.S. Chess Federation in December 22, and again, she's 36 years old.
I believe, not to get too far afield, but I believe she had an issue with wearing the hijab in tournaments, and
that is that contributed to her changing federations, and coming to this country. But she's a 7-time Iranian women's champion, But she now plays with the under the U.S. flag. Okay, so she tied for 7th and 8th. Another player who played for 7th and 8th in the women's section was women Grandmaster Talia, not Thalia, but Talia Cervantes, also known as Talia Cervantes Landero. And there's a photo of Talia, who was born in Cuba. She was born in November 2002 in Cuba, and she's 22 years old, and she came to the United States in 2014. And she lives in St. Louis now. Okay, so that's Talia. Let's look at a photo of one of the players who tied for 5th and 6th place in the women's section, and that's International Master Anna Zatonsky. Let's see, there's Anna. Anna actually was born in Ukraine, Mariupol, Ukraine. She was born in 1978, but I think she's the oldest, 46 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, 46-year-old Anna Zatonsky, and she's actually a 4-time U.S. champion, women's champion, 2006, 2008, 2009, and 2011. And she's been in the United States since 2003.
Okay.
Okay. Now, tying with Anna Zatonsky for 5th and 6th place is our own Carissa Yip, international Carissa Yip, who won the Wachusett Chess Club Championship at the age of 10 in 2014.
Yep.
She is the current U.S. Women's Champion. She has won the U.S. Women's Championship 3 times. Yep. She's the reigning Women's Champion. And again, she now is living in St. Louis. She's actually taking time off from the university, Stanford University, and now living in St. Louis. And again, she's, a 3-time U.S. champion. She won in 2021, 2023, and last year in 2024. Okay, now let's show the player who came in 4th place, clear 4th place, and that is International Master Nazi Paikidze, 31 years old, Nazi, and she was born in Irkutsk, Russia, which is in Siberia. She's she's a 2-time U.S. Women's Champion. She won the U.S. Women's Championship in 2016 and 2018, and she has been playing in the United States since 2013. Yep, and so she's, again, as I say, she's a 2-time U.S. Women's Championship and one of the strongest players, women players of the country. A player who is the only female grandmaster in the country, Grandmaster Irina Krush. Let's show a photo of Irina Krush, who was also born in Ukraine. She was born in Odessa, Ukraine in 1983. She's 41 years old, and she became a grandmaster in 2013, and her parents and she moved to Brooklyn, New York, actually in 1989, when she was like 5 years old. When Irina was 5, the family moved to the United States, settled in Brooklyn, New York, and that's where Irina now lives, in Brooklyn. Okay, and again, she's an 8-time U.S. Women's Champion. She won it for the first time in 1988. So she is, again, the only one with that title, as far as among U.S. women.
Oh, right.
Yes, she's the only female grandmaster in this country.
Yep.
Okay. Now, who came in 2nd place? Coming in 2nd place was a woman grandmaster, Tatev Abrahamian. Do we have a photo of her? There is Tatev Abrahamian, who is 37 years old. Born in Armenia, the capital of Armenia, Yerevan, and she actually moved from Armenia to the United States in 2001. She's been actually in this country for the past 24 years or so. I think she settled in California.
Los Angeles,
Los Angeles. I think maybe Glendale specifically,
which is part of
where
part of
lots of Armenians live in Glendale. But she got her women grandmaster title in 2011, and again, she's one of the top players in the women players of the country. But who won the women's section this year in the our American Cup, the women's division? Well, it was 25-year-old Alice Lee. Let's show Alice Lee here.
She's 25?
She's 25 years old.
I didn't realize that. I thought she was younger.
Yes, I thought she was younger. You thought she was younger, but she was born in 2009. But she was born in this country.
2009 means she's 16.
I'm sorry. No, that's right. I'm sorry. I got it wrong. She's 60, not 25.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I got it confused.
That makes sense.
You're right. I'm glad you caught me. She's 16 years old. That's very young, right? So she's still in school. She's still going to school, right?
Yeah.
So Alice Lee is 16 years old, born in 2009 in Minneapolis, and she became she's now an IM, international master, right? And again, she won this year's.
And it's not their first time winning this either.
No, she won it last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, she's won it 2 years in a row. So she's one again.
She's a phenomenon.
She is definitely a phenomenon.
16, yeah.
Okay. All right. So those are the participants, and again, the winner, Alice Lee, won it 2 years in a row. Again, 60 years old. I made her older than she.
Yeah, and I believe the other 2 years she was a finalist. So I think she was the runner-up.
She was a runner-up. Actually, in fact, I have that. If I can dig that up here, when she tied, she was the runner-up. Actually, in what years? The two previous years, 2021, 22, 23. Yes. So 22 to 23, she was the runner-up in the women's
section. She's either been the runner-up or the winner.
Right, exactly.
Every year.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Okay. So she has great promise.
And she's only 16. Yeah.
Okay. Now let's go to the men's. I call it men's division, but it's improper. Yeah. It's improper to call it the men's division, even though it was all men who played in it. It's the open division, and let's find a photo of one of the players who tied for 7th and 8th place, the youngest player in the event. Here he is, Grandmaster Abhimanyu Mishra, 16 years old. He was born in New Jersey. He's homegrown, born in 2009, so that makes him 16. And he holds the, by the way, unless I'm mistaken, he holds the record as the youngest male youngest person ever to become a grandmaster.
Yes.
He did it at the age of 12 years, 4 months, 25 days. Yeah. So that's Abhimanyu Mishra, 16 years old, and again, he holds that record.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, who else tied for 7th and 8th with him? That was Grandmaster Ray Robson. There's Ray Robson, who is 30 years old. He was born in 1994, in October 1994, in Guam. But his parents were actually a combination, I believe, actually Chinese. I think his mother was Chinese. Yeah. But his father is a professor of applying linguistics at St. Petersburg College in Florida, and that's where the family moved. After he was born in Guam, the family moved back to the United States, and it moved to Florida. And again, his father's a college professor. His mother actually was a kindergarten teacher, and they moved actually when he was very young back to the United States. And he became a grandmaster in 2010. That's Ray Robson. Now, let's have a photo of one of the players who tied for 5th and 6th place, and this is Grandmaster Lanier Dominguez, 41 years old. He was born in Havana, Cuba, and he transferred from the Cuban Chess Federation to the U.S. Chess Federation in 2018. So he plays now under the U.S. flag in competition. But he was a 5-time Cuban champion before he left. Before he left Cuba, he was champion of the country 5 times, starting in 2002, ending in 2016. So that's Lanier Dominguez, 41 years old. Now, a player who tied with Lanier Dominguez for 5th and 6th place was Grandmaster Wesley So. There he is, Wesley So, who was born in the Philippines. He's a 3-time U.S. champion, and he actually transferred from the Philippines to the United States in 2013.
Okay.
And his parents is actually Filipino-Chinese parents, Wesley So. And again, he actually, as I say, won the U.S. championship 3 times. One of those years he won the championship was 2020, the year of the COVID-19, the pandemic.
Yep.
That championship had to be done remotely. It was done actually online.
Yep.
Yeah, but he won it actually in 2017, 2020, and he also won it in 2021. Now, who came in 4th place? Clear 4th place with a local connection, because this player, Sam Sevian, is that Sam Sevian? Yes, it is. 24-year-old Sam Sevian, who lives in Holden, Massachusetts, right here in Worcester County.
Yep.
And he was born in Corning, New York, of Armenian parents, his father and mother from Yerevan, Armenia. But he was born in New York. And of course, they moved to California, but they actually have been living in Massachusetts for a number of years. And he became a grandmaster at the age of 13 years, 10 months, 27 days. Became a grandmaster in 2014. And again, he's one of the top players of the country.
Yep.
Absolutely. Coming in clear third place in the open division was Grandmaster Levon Aronian. There he is, Grandmaster Levon Aronian, 42 years old. He was born in October 1982 in Yerevan, Armenia, the capital. And he also transferred from Armenia, the Armenian Chess Federation, to the U.S. Chess Federation. Do you know why he did that? Why would he? Why would Levon?
I think he felt he wasn't getting enough support from the Armenian government. Yeah.
He cited a decline in government support for chess in his country, his home country, Armenia. And he decided, no, I want to go where chess is being, supported and fostered.
That was only a few years ago, right?
Yes, he actually did that in 2021.
Okay.
Yes, so he made that transfer in December 2021. And again, as he cited, the decline in support for chess in Armenia was the reason he did that. Okay, now coming in clear second place is no stranger to us because we've had him on, we've talked about him numerous times on Chess Chat. Is Grandmaster Fabiano Caruana. There he is, 32 years old. He was born in 1992, July 1992, of Italian parents. His parents are Italian.
Yeah.
But he grew up in Brooklyn, New York. Now, can you think of another player, great player, who grew up in Brooklyn? Yes, Bobby Fischer, who was born in Chicago, but grew up in Brooklyn, New York. And Caruana is the same way. He grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and he became he's a dual citizen of both the Italy and the United States. Yeah, and he moved to Brooklyn with his parents at the age of 4. Okay. So he's been in this country a long time because he's born in Miami, first of all, and he's a 4-time U.S. champion. In fact, he won it for the past 3 years. Okay. He won it for the first time in 2016, but he won it in 2022, 2023, and just won it last year. So he's, again, and for many years, he was the second highest rated player in the country. Caruana. He was at one time.
In the world.
In the world, I'm sorry, the world, I'm saying, not in the country, but also the world, yes. Yeah. He was the second highest rated player in the world. Yeah. Now, who's the highest rated player in the world?
Magnus Carlsen.
Of Norway. Yeah. The former world champion. Yeah.
He slipped just a little. I think he's number 4 now by just a bit.
Right, exactly. So, but he's still over 20. I think his rating is like 2847, something like that. Yeah. There's only 2 players now in the world who are over 2000. Yeah. And the player who won the open section of this year's American Cup is Grandmaster Hikaru Nakamura. Here he is, Hikaru Nakamura, who is, how old is Hikaru? 37 years old. He was born in Japan, of a Japanese father and an American mother. But at the age of 2, he and his parents came to the United States, but a year after, they divorced. His mother divorced his father, and his mother married someone who has a connection to the Washington Chess Club. His mother married FIDE master, World Chess Federation master, Sunil Veeramantri. Now, we have somebody at the club who went to school, went to college with Sunil Veeramantri. Who is that player?
Ken Gerge.
Ken Gerge, who's a lawyer in Leominster, who knew Sunil very well, because they went to school together. But Hikaru Nakamura, again, grew up in White Plains, New York. When the family moved here and his mother remarried, Hikaru grew up in White Plains, New York. Yeah. And he's a 5-time U.S. champion. He won it for the first time in 2005. Actually, the event was actually played in 2004, but they call it the 2005 U.S. Championship. And then he won it in 2009, 2012, 2015, 2019.
We're getting a signal to get going with the game.
So anyways, what we're going to present to our viewers, and you selected this game. I thank you for selecting this game. This is a game from the American Cup that Hikaru Nakamura played against Fabiano Caruana. Now, was this a regular game? What was that?
This was a blitz game. So
this was a blitz game. So this was a tiebreak. This was used as a tiebreak?
Tiebreaker, so each player had 3 minutes, and they got an extra 2 seconds with each move.
Okay.
So it's fast.
It's very fast.
And hopefully we're going to show a video of the actual game.
Oh, yes. In fact, we're going to be able to show, after we present the game, we're going to show a video. All right. So Fabiano Caruana has white in this game?
He opens with E4.
Okay, he opens with E4. And what Hikaru Nakamura responded with was moving the pawn to E5. Okay, so we have now a double king pawn opening right now. It is, we're going to see it on our monitor here. And Fabiano's next move is knight F3, attacking the pawn.
Yep.
Okay, to which Hikaru just defends that pawn by developing the knight on B8 to C6. Yep. Knight C6. Okay, it is now Fabiano's third move. He has choices here, of course.
Yep.
What does he choose?
He plays bishop to C4. It's called the Italian game.
Okay. Now, the bishop could have gone to B5, which would make it the Spanish game.
Spanish game,
okay. But this is the Italian game.
Yep.
Now, there are different ways to respond to this. Bishop to C5 is a good move.
Very common,
But Hikaru played knight on G8 to F6. Knight F6 is a move. Now, do we have an opening name or defense name for this right now?
I think it's the two knights
yes,
Italian.
It is now called the two knights defense.
Yep.
Because we have black has two knights out, and that's why it's called the two knights defense. Okay. Now, it is now Fabiano's fourth move.
So the pawn on E4 is attacked, so he's got to be defended. He chooses to defend it with the pawn.
Yeah.
Going to D3.
Right. Yes. Now, okay, so it's a good move.
Could have defended it with the knight.
Could have defended with the knight. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's a possibility. All right. So after D3 by Fabiano, what Hikaru did, he could have brought this bishop on F8 to C4 if he wanted to.
Sure.
He could have done that, but he chose to bring the bishop to E7 instead. Okay. So he's holding back and plays the bishop to E7. Okay. It is now Fabiano's fifth move. How does he continue?
He develops the knight to C3.
Okay. So 3 pieces developed already. And of course, Hikaru already has 3 pieces developed.
Yep.
All right, so what Hikaru did was play the pawn to D6, which now opens up for his light square bishop to be able to come out.
But blocks in the dark square bishop.
Yes, that's right. If he had brought the bishop to C5, he wouldn't have that shut-in bishop.
Yep.
But he chooses to keep it shut in like that.
Yep.
It is now Fabiano's move. It is move 6. Now, does Fabiano castle now, or is this something else?
No, he doesn't castle. He plays A3.
Okay. Now, why is it he chooses to play A3 instead of castling right away? Is it because by playing A3, he's allowing this bishop a safe haven,
escape square, right?
A safe square.
So if
in case the knight went over here to attack the bishop,
he could pull back.
He could pull back, and save the bishop.
Yep.
So that would make sense.
Yep.
To hold on to the bishop by providing a escape square for that bishop. All right. So after A3 by Hikaru, Fabiano, I should say, Hikaru castles.
Yep.
Okay, that's his 6th move. It is now Fabiano's 7th move. What does he do?
He develops the bishop to E3.
Okay, another development. He's again holding off on castling.
Right. So he could still possibly castle queenside if he chooses.
Yes, actually, the possibility gives him the opportunity of castling queenside after he moves the queen to allow that to happen, queenside. It is now Hikaru's move, and he responds. Now, he could have, this bishop on C8, he could have brought it to G4, pinning the knight. That was a possibility, but he chooses not to do that. Instead, Hikaru plays the bishop on C8 to E6, challenging this bishop on this diagonal. Okay, so because of bishop e6, what does Fabiano do now on move 8?
A lot of choices here.
Yes.
He could have traded bishops. He could have pulled it back, but he blocks with the knight going to d5.
Okay, so he chooses that. All right. So after knight d5, now again the choice is also for black here. Black actually probably decide not to take the knight with the bishop takes here. Instead, he plays this queen on d8 over to c8. Now that's right. I think we discovered this was a novelty. Wasn't this a novelty?
This had not been played before.
This had never been played before.
Yeah, and the commentators you'll see are kind of perplexed by this.
They were perplexed, right? Exactly. They had never seen this before.
Yep.
Again, up to this point, before queen c8, the position had been played before numerous times.
Yep.
But this is the first time they'd ever seen queen c8.
Yep.
Okay, it is now Fabiano's ninth move. What does he do?
Well, a little unusual. He pulls the bishop back to b3.
Yeah, this is rather strange.
Yeah.
Why this retreat? Because it wasn't under attack.
Right.
The bishop was not being attacked.
Yeah, he could have castled.
He could have castled, but he's holding back on castling. So that was Fabiano's move.
I guess, part of it is, he's keeping black guessing as to which way he's going to castle.
Right. Well, here's where Hikaru said, okay, well, Fabiano, you planted this knight here on d5 with the opportunity of taking my bishop if you wanted to, but you choose not to do that. You retreated the bishop. So I'm just going to retreat my bishop back to d8, depriving you of capturing my bishop that I left there for you to take if you wanted to.
That's pretty unusual.
Rather unusual. Okay. It is now Fabiano's move. What does Fabiano do on move 10?
So he finally does castle kingside.
Finally castles on move 10. Okay. All right. Now here is where Hikaru says, you know what? Enough is enough here. I'm going to take that knight on d5 with the bishop, after all. Bishop takes d5, and that's what Hikaru does on move 10. Okay. Now, how does actually Fabiano recapture? Did he capture with the pawn?
He captures with the pawn.
Or with the bishop?
Captures with the pawn. I guess he wanted to hold on to the bishop pair.
Yes, right.
So he captures this way, which means he's doubling his pawns, which is typically not a good thing, but
and by doing that, he's forcing that knight on c6 to move because it's under attack. Okay, so the knight now on c6 moves back to e7. Now we have a double attack on the pawn on d5. Two knights are attacking a pawn on d5, which is only defended once. So if Fabiano doesn't want to lose a pawn, he has to defend that pawn
a second time, which he does by playing c4.
He plays c4. Okay. All right. Okay. It is now Hikaru's move here, his 12th move. He now plays the knight on e7 to f5, and now is attacking the bishop on e3. Okay. Does he want that bishop?
I think he does.
I think he
Fabiano wants to hold on to it.
Yes.
So he pulls it back to d2.
Okay, so Fabiano brings it back to d2. Okay, to d2. All right. So how does actually black make progress here? Hikaru decides. Okay, you know what? I want to attack this center here. We have actually double pawns here. Let's see on d3 and d5, but he plays the pawn to c6. With the threat of taking back, which would force a recapture, still maintaining double pawns. I don't think Fabiano wants to have double pawns.
Right.
So how does he respond to Hikaru's c6?
Yes, I'm sure he was happy to undouble his pawns.
I'm sure he's very happy that Hikaru gave him the opportunity to undouble his pawns by capturing on c6. Now, there are two ways to recapture this.
Yeah, and it seems like capturing with the pawn probably would have been better.
Yeah, I think the computer analysis pointed out that B taking c6 was a better move. But what Hikaru did was capture the pawn on c6 with the queen.
With the queen, yeah.
So the queen takes c6, okay? All right.
And we have to keep in mind, this is blitz, so
Oh, yeah, this is blitz.
players don't have a lot of time to think.
All right. Okay. So it is now Fabiano's 15th move. How does he proceed?
So he brings the rook over to the c file, rook to c1.
Okay. All right. Developing that piece. Okay. All right. So rook on c1. Hikaru says, you know, I got to also continue my development.
Yep.
He plays the bishop on d8, the b6, which now connects the rooks, by the way.
Yep.
Yeah. But he has developed that nice bishop to b6. Okay. It is now Fabiano's 16th move. How does he continue?
So he plays bishop to a4.
Now, is this a good move to attack the queen like this? Was it good to just keep it here along this diagonal? Because this is gonna force the queen to move, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, so the queen is rather limited as far as where it can go. I don't think Hikaru wants to bring it all the way back to c8 to disconnect the rooks, which he did. So what he does instead, he brings the queen back to c7. So the queen is on c7. It is now Fabiano's 17th move. How does he continue?
So he plays b4, trying to gain space on the queen side.
All right, okay, so advancing there. All right, so in response to b4, Hikaru decides, you know what, I want to attack that pawn on b4. He does it with moving the pawn on a7 to a5. So now he brings it up, and now he's attacking. That pawn on b4 is under attack. But how does Fabiano respond to a5 here? Does he ignore that? Because it's adequately defended. Because remember, the pawn on a3 is adequately defending the pawn on b4, as well as the bishop on d2.
Yep.
So there's adequate defense here. He doesn't have to, White doesn't have to worry about any loss of pawn here.
So he plays bishop to g5, attacking the knight on f6, so threatening to double the pawns.
Okay.
And opening up the king.
All right. Now, in order to avoid the capture on here, doubling the pawns, Hikaru could have actually, in response to that, brought this queen over to e7 and allowed that queen to protect here.
Right.
Yeah.
So that would be pinning.
That pinning.
Would be pinning.
But maybe bring the bishop back here, let the bishop now defend, and then scoot back with the queen.
Or he could have pulled the knight back also.
That's true. He actually, right. Yeah, right. He could bring this knight. Yeah. But again, Hikaru chose, no, I'm not, he says, I'm not going to bring this bishop into this pin.
Yeah, this was, you'll see in the video we present, it's a very interesting decision where the computer says it's fine to do it this way, but most humans would not want
most humans would not allow actually the disruption of this castle position, allowing double pawns here.
But we have to keep in mind, Hikaru is one of the best players in the world, one of the best, probably the best blitz player in the world.
So he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
So what Hikaru did was capture the pawn on b4 with the a pawn.
Yep.
He played a takes b4 was Hikaru's move. Okay, and again, after he did that, now a lot of players would expect White to recapture that pawn with the a pawn, but the reason Fabiano played the bishop to g5 was to carry out his plan.
Right. I think most people would go ahead
would probably take there for
and double.
Yeah, and that's what Fabiano did actually.
Yeah.
Right. He said, I plenty of time. I brought the bishop to g5 to capture that knight on f6 and double these pawns.
And again, like I said, the amazing thing is the computer thinks it would have been better to do this.
Oh, really? The computer actually likes this.
Yeah.
Prefers a takes b4 instead of bishop takes
f6. But I think 99% of humans would do exactly what Fabiano did.
Yes, right. So Fabiano, and of course, Hikaru only has one move. He has to recapture. And so he plays g takes f6. So now he has double pawns here on the f file.
In front of his king.
In front of his king.
It's pretty scary looking.
Right. And when we show the video, it's going to be interesting, the comments. All right, so now what did Fabiano do now? Oh, he advances the pawn. Instead of taking here, he advances the pawn to c5.
Yeah.
Which is also interesting. All right, so what Hikaru did, said, hey, I will just capture that pawn with the bishop. Bishop takes Did he take? No, I'm sorry, no. He took with a pawn.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry, no.
Yep.
In fact, this would have been a mistake. Let's point out, viewers, if he had taken with the bishop, that would be a blunder. If he took with the bishop, because now he would lose a piece.
Right, because he could just take back and the bishop is pinned.
And that bishop is lost.
Yeah.
Yes, and the bishop will be lost. So that would be a big mistake, taking the pawn on c5 with the bishop. Hikaru did the proper recapture. He took with the d pawn. D takes c5. Okay, now he's safe.
Yep.
He's not in danger. All right, so after d takes c5, what did Fabiano do now?
Takes the pawn.
Now he can take a takes b4. Okay, very good. All right. So Hikaru realizes, you know, I don't like this pin. This queen with the rook here on this file. So he moves the queen off the pin here and moves the queen to d6. That's what he plays on move 21. Okay. So now here comes a critical position in the game. This I think next move was criticized. Was this actually criticized by the commentators that we're going to see?
Yeah, I think he simply could have just taken here.
Just take the pawn.
But he pushes to b5, and now part of the problem is this bishop has no place to go.
Right, has no.
Other than
what is it doing there? Just it's defending a pawn which is not under attack.
Right.
Yeah. So after b5, what Hikaru did, the pawn on f8, he moves over now to d8, which he couldn't do.
One more.
I'm sorry. So d8. I'm sorry. D8. Right. D8. I'm sorry. D8. All right. Wait a minute. With the rook and the queen now, aren't we attacking this undefended pawn on d3?
Yeah.
There's an attack there on that pawn on d3. So what does Fabiano do in response after rook fd8? Does he bring the bishop back to protect it?
Right, he could have.
He could have brought the bishop back to c2, defend the pawn.
But what he does is, I think, very interesting. But
all right. So he chose not to defend it.
Yeah, I don't think this would even cross my mind. He plays knight to d2.
Yeah.
Just letting this pawn go, and I think the point is he wants to bring the queen.
Oh, I see. It actually allows the queen to come up with check.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now the question is: does Hikaru now take the pawn on d3 with the queen?
He certainly could have.
He could have, but he didn't. After knight d2, what Hikaru did was play the knight on f5 to d4. So this is a nicely planted knight on d4 here. All right. All right. How is actually Fabiano going to continue here in this position? What does he do?
He probably should have just, I'm not sure what he was worried about. He probably should have just gone ahead and brought the queen to g4.
And checked.
Check, but he decides to play.
Which would force the king to move.
Right, knight to c4 attacking black's queen.
Aha. And also attacking the bishop at the same time.
Yes.
A double attack. Then attacks the queen and the bishop. So the queen has to move. Where is that queen moving to after knight c4? Well, it moves queen to e6 is where Hikaru moved the queen. Okay, it is now Fabiano's move. It is his 25th move.
25th, yeah.
What does he do?
So rook to e1.
Okay.
Yeah, because the same file as the queen.
Exactly, because the rook has no future staying on f1. Right. Okay. So after rook e1, again, this gives Hikaru the opportunity to save his bishop. That bishop, which was under attack by the bishop here, but the knight, I should say, the bishop now moves back to c7. So he saves that bishop by moving it back to c7. Okay, it is now Fabiano's move. What does he do?
What he probably should have done, and he had a chance to do this repeatedly, was just push
the pawn.
Push this.
Allow that to be taken. Because remember, the queen and the bishop are attacking this, but he's probably willing to do that. Yeah. Well, that was a possibility. But instead, I think Fabiano probably came up with a better move.
Well, I mean, the computer thinks it's this would have been better, but rook e3 is what he plays to
bring it
over to help with the attack.
On the
king.
So rook e3 is what Fabiano played. Okay. Yep. All right. Now Hikaru realizes this rook is going to come over, check that king. So he's going to anticipate that check by avoiding the check by just moving the king to h8, which allows now this rook actually to be redeployed over here to challenge any attack on the g file. So king h8 is what Hikaru played on his 26th move. What does Fabiano do in response to king h8?
Well, it's kind of odd, but I think he was getting low on time at this point.
Yeah, because this next move is very strange.
Yeah.
King h1 is a very strange move.
I'm not sure what was going on.
Because you would think he would actually, well, bring the rook over, but again, he would be challenged by Hikaru on the g file. All right, after king h1, what Hikaru did now says, you know what? I don't like even the prospect of possibly this pawn pushing. So he plays the pawn to b6, allows now the further defense of the pawn on c5 for one thing. Okay, so b6 is what the pawn b6 is what Hikaru played. It is now Fabiano's 28th move. How does he continue?
He slides the rook over to h3,
which he could have done before, but he instead he chose playing king h1.
Yep.
So now the rook is on h3. Hikaru says, okay, I'm now going to go and take the g file for myself.
Right, and also have the ability to bring the rook up to here to defend.
Right, yes. It does. So, yes, right. It does allow that rook to be a defensive piece on the pawn on h7. Okay, so after rook g8, which Hikaru did, what did Fabiano do?
Queen h5, threatening mate in one move.
Right, he's threatening checkmate here. Yeah. And of course, Hikaru cannot allow that.
Right. And he could have actually just pushed his rook up
he
to
could
g7.
have actually, yes, Hikaru could have played the rook up to g7 and let the rook defend the pawn on h7, but he didn't do that.
Nope.
Instead, Hikaru is happy with maybe, okay, offering the exchange of queens. For one thing, the queen to f5, the queen protects the pawn on h7, but also offers the exchange because the knight is protecting the queen on f5. Now, what does Fabiano do? Does he move the queen to avoid the queen exchange, or does he accept the queen exchange?
Yeah, he accepted it, so he took the queen.
All right, so knight takes f5, and of course there's only one reply. Hikaru now recaptures, knight takes f5.
Yeah.
Now, I believe when we went over this game and we did some computer analysis, the black is actually considered having the advantage here.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yes. Black has the advantage here.
Black has an extra pawn for one thing.
Extra pawn, right, exactly. Well, wait a minute. It is now, it is actually now white's move, right?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. This bishop is undefended here.
Right.
So Fabiano has to save that bishop on a4.
Right, which he does by bringing it back to the best square d1 to...
Right, exactly. All right.
To hit at the king side.
All right, so he brings bishop d1 is what he played, okay? And now here is where Hikaru says, you know what? I want to bring this knight back to d4. I like this square for this knight. Oh, one reason is I'm attacking this pawn.
Right.
I'd love to win this pawn on b5.
Right. So
all
Fabiano plays rook to b1, defending it.
So he defends the pawn, okay? All right. Now, in response to defending the pawn, as Fabiano did with rook b1, Hikaru says, well, you know what? You know, I attacked that pawn, you defended it. What are you going to do after I play rook a2 and I'm attacking this pawn on f2?
And rooks on the 7th are very powerful.
Yes, right, exactly. So, how does Fabiano respond to this rook on a2 attacking the pawn on f2?
Brings the king over to g1, which is unfortunate.
Exactly.
He had moved it away before.
Exactly. All right. So, okay. So now, with the king defending the pawn, Fabiano, Hikaru now says, okay, you know what? This rook over here, I'm going to bring and double these rooks.
Yep.
So rook g over to a8, and now there's a threat of coming to a1.
Right.
And bringing about exchanges.
Right, and then
have this
pinning,
pinning that bishop Okay, this is
so yeah, Fabiano's in trouble already. So king f1. He's trying to get it closer to the bishop to be able to defend it.
Right. Plays king e1. Okay.
f1. Yeah.
f1. I should say. All right. But here's a case where it is now after king e1. Wait a minute. Oh, wait. He plays this, right?
Rook a1. Yeah.
Rook a1. Right. Yep. Rook a1. Okay. All right. So after rook a1. What does actually
Fabiano really has no choice.
He has no choice. He takes.
Exchange. Yep.
He takes. And of course, Hikaru only has one move, of course. Rook takes a1. And now we have the pinning the bishop. And of course, that bishop has to be protected. And there's only one move to do that, or one sensible move.
Yep.
But after king e1, Hikaru says, you know what? I now can win that pawn on b5.
Yep.
Knight takes b5. He's now won that very valuable pawn. Knight b5. And how did actually
Fabiano plays king d2 to break the pin.
All right. Okay. And Hikaru says, you know, I want to sink back into d4. I love this square for this knight. The beautiful square for the knight. Knight d4. Okay. So what does
Fabiano plays rook h6.
Hitting
the pawn.
Attacking the pawn on f6. Okay. Yep. So with the rook on h6, but Hikaru is not going to come up and defend that pawn. He says, no, I got something stronger.
Right.
I'm going to play the pawn to b5 and attack this knight and force that knight to move. It has to save itself, otherwise it'll be lost. So what did actually, after b5 with the attack on the knight, what did Fabiano do in response to that?
Yeah, it's getting worse now. He plays knight to b2.
Okay, it is getting worse because now Hikaru comes with a very strong move.
Yep.
Bishop to a5 check. King under attack.
King only has one square to go to, unfortunately.
Right, exactly.
King e3.
In fact, that's the only move it has. Yep. Right. After king e3, after king e3 plays, and after Hikaru now plays a move which forces Fabiano's immediate resignation, and which is simply knight f5 check, forking the king and the rook, and after the rook is lost.
Lost, yeah. The game's over.
And the game over. And Fabiano resigned immediately.
Yep.
This is hopeless. He'd be totally down off.
Yeah, it's not only hopeless, I think he was about out of time.
Out of time,
anyway,
running out of time.
Which we'll see
we're going to see.
In the video.
Okay, now, what we have here is a video courtesy of the St. Louis Chess Club commentators. We have 3 commentators. We're going to see actually the video from the actual game that was played. We have Yasser Seirawan, Grandmaster Yasser Seirawan, who, by the way, came to Fitchburg. What year that was? 1984, September 1994. Yasser Seirawan did an exhibition at the Washington Chess Club. He's assisted by women Grandmaster Katarina Nemtsova, who's from the Czech Republic. She grew up in the Czech Republic. She now is an American player. She's a Czech-American women Grandmaster. And another commentator who's very good is Grandmaster Cristian Chirila of Romania. And again, we're going to see, Darren has a nice video clip of the actual game that we just presented to our viewers, the Blitz game that Hikaru Caruana won against Fabio Caruana. So let's show that clip from the American Cup, the Blitz game that was played.
The players are ready for the playoff. It's Blitz. And
Fabi starts with the white pieces in this one. Let's see what he comes up with. E4, E5, are we going to see a repetition of what happened in the classical? Bishop to C4, it seems like perhaps that is the case. Let's not forget the players did have some time to prepare with their seconds before. Bishop to E3, Bishop to E6, this is exactly what, Queen C8, novelty.
Bishop B3.
Bishop to D8.
That's an interesting way of setting up the pieces.
Queen C8, Bishop E7 for the knight?
What Bishop exactly to is that? D8. Okay, kind of fun. And knight e7. Okay, that was the big idea. He wanted to make room for his knight so that he could put his knight on e7 and f5.
He's looking at breaking up the pawn structure in the middle.
He's just done it.
For white with c6. And I like the fact that bishop on d8 is ready to jump to b6 as well.
Me too.
Queen takes c6.
As
very crafty play by Hikaru, I have to say.
Well, Hikaru's putting his pieces are gravitating towards great squares. Bishop to b6.
Some idea of e4.
Pardon?
At the same time, you do have the two bishops as white. Don't underestimate the bishop pair.
Bishop b6.
Bishop
That's
a4.
a very nice diagonal.
I'm not exactly sure what the bishop is doing on a4 other than stopping me from playing rook e8, a move that I'm really not happy with. Okay,
be
h6.
careful. Ideas of c5 sometimes.
What about e4? Can we do e4 now to put more pressure on f2? Because we have the bishop there, and then...
e5, e4, you're opening up the game for the bishops, yeah? I will capture on e4.
Knight takes.
And bishop f4.
Bishop f4, bishop c2, c5 as well, a5.
a5.
Just reminding white that maybe.
And inviting white to play b5 to just lock the queen side.
Bishop g5 right now.
I was a little bit worried about bishop g5. I wanted to play h6 for Hikaru. He's played a5 and bishop g5. Maybe that's a little bit of a nuance that Hikaru should not have allowed. This move, you do not want to allow bishop takes f6.
No.
I don't care what the engine says.
No,
like, my king is safe. No. It's just not the way you play chess. So Hikaru.
But queen e7 is not looking well.
Wow.
Did he really?
He really played he's really inviting bishop takes f6, g takes f6, a, b.
And Fabiano is taking that opportunity.
I am amazed. Hikaru must be thinking his king is safe, but boy...
the engine is saying that black is better.
Black is better.
Yes.
Do you think he could have prepared something like this? Because he played bishop d8, queen c8.
No, Fabi did not recapture on b4. He played c5 first.
This is okay.
I'll
show it to you after the game. I'll show it to you
first.
after the game. Yes.
And now he's taken on b4.
Yes. I'll show it to you.
Wow, that was
I'll show why he didn't take on b4.
That was a truly crafty... What's going on? Queen e7, queen d6?
Queen d6. It's just an extra pawn.
Kate, we're going to have to... we'll understand this later, why he didn't recapture
okay, b5.
it once.
Fabi just played b5.
b5? What is going on?
And this I understand. You want to play bishop b3, bishop c4.
I want to play c4. I want to save my king.
Should we update the board?
Oh, sure. Thank you. I want to save my king. I want to play c4. I want to play e4. I want to open up my bishop. And finally, he decided just to put pressure on the d3.
He's going towards e4, but at the same time allowing the other knight, the knight from f5, to jump in the center with knight d4.
Queen g4 check, knight e4.
You can also take a pawn.
What is this bishop doing way off?
The bishop is waiting for black to capture the pawn on d3 and then have a very nice diagonal.
Knight d4.
Hikaru not capturing that pawn.
And the queen takes d3. As far as I could see,
that's
queen
a pawn.
Takes d3 was legal.
That was definitely a pawn.
Well, queen g4 there.
Queen takes d3, queen g4 check, king f8. Let's
Bishop c2.
Wasn't the knight hanging on d2?
But you're on f5.
Okay,
yeah, but I took a pawn.
Extra pawn.
I would be 2 pawns up at that point.
2 pawns. Rook to e8, bishop c7, hoping for an f6, f5. Once you get an f5, then the queen will be able to play defensive.
And the bishop on a4 is just so out of the play.
Stuck.
Hikaru for choice right now.
F4, pardon me, F5,
Rook
let's
to
go.
H3, King H8, he's trying to go, perhaps Rook H3, Queen H5, try to go for that H7 pawn, Rook G8, Rook G7, comes fast.
Very important defensive reaction, Rook G7. This...
King H1.
What?
B6.
Just preventing a future B5, B6? Okay. No. This is over. This is material and advantage for black now.
Queen H5.
H5,
Rook
then
G7.
Bishop D1. Try to finally activate that bishop.
There's a Queen F5 option as well to exchange the queens.
Chose for that option with Queen F5.
Now Bishop D1, Bishop F3, Knight to D4.
There is no Bishop F3.
Why not? I mean, I would invite the trade for the bishop for the knight on D4.
That's true. Pardon me, how many pawns am I up?
Black has extra pawn,
Just one for the moment.
Just one extra pawn.
But that pawn on B5, you know, can be also captured.
That's the problem, yes.
Is dead, and Rook A2 is also dead.
Rook B1, Knight takes B5, also an idea?
No,
Rook to
just
A2.
Rook A2, F5, let's go.
Rook A8, he's looking at Rook A1. 6 seconds for Fabiano.
This is over.
King to B1.
Over. Hikaru with Rook A1.
Rook A1
is going to be 2 pawns up in a bishops of opposite color middle game position.
There's no counterplay for Fabi.
And no counterplay at all. Knight back to D4, recharge, reset, sorry.
Playing with 1 second on the clock.
There's just simply
Bishop to D8.
Knight F5.
Oh. Well, there you saw it. A fantastic video of the actual blitz game that Hikaru Nakamura won against Fabiano Caruana from the 2025 American Cup. Interesting commentary by Yasser Seirawan and Katerina Nemtsova and Christian Kirilla. Again, I was interested in what Yasser had to say about allowing Fabiano playing Bishop G5.
Yeah.
He thought that was not good.
Yeah.
Hikaru allowing that bishop, but it worked actually in Hikaru's favor.
It did.
It worked actually very much in his favor by allowing that, and the analysis was that actually black had the superior position as a result of that, those pawns being doubled, and it was actually in Hikaru's favor. Now, Hikaru now, with this win of this year's American Cup, which was the 4th American Cup, now has won the American Cup twice. Okay. Again, he won it again this year, but he won it 2 years ago, 2023. Now, I should point out, actually, in the first year that this was held, the American Cup, Caruana was the winner of the very first American Cup in 2022, when Levon Aronian was the runner-up that year. And then the following year, Nakamura won it again, 2022, and Wesley So was the runner-up in that year in 2023. And last year, Aronian was the American Cup winner, and Wesley So was once again the runner-up. But again, the American Cup is a very interesting event, which is, again, in its 4th year. And again, it features the top players actually in this country. In this country, and 2 divisions. And again, it's one of those rare tournaments where you have double elimination. Because most of the tournaments in this country, major events like the U.S. Championship, are usually Swiss tournaments. You know, I mean, where winners play those players with the same point totals play each other, or a round robin. A round robin again is another format. But we hope that our Chess Chat fans enjoyed the game that you and I presented, and that Yasser Seirawan and Katerina Nemtsova and Christian Kirilla presented to us on a very fascinating blitz. And we promise to our Chess Chat viewers a very interesting program next time on Chess Chat.